The regular meeting of the Harrison County Board of Education for September 3rd, 2024. Stand for the pledge of allegiance. Mr. Carter, would you please sit down?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right. That will bring us right into your presentation.
All right, here we go. So Caitlin should be passing down the attendance walkthrough. Those are the attendance codes that changed during the last legislative session. And as a result, there's been some state policy changes also. I want to talk about those for a moment. In some of the definitions, they've, in the old one, there was 74% for a full day and 50% for a half day. They've changed that. A full day absence is being considered 80% of the school day. 3/4 day absence is a 60 to a 79% absence of the school day. A half day is being absent 40 to 59% of the school day, and a 1/4 day absence is being absent 20 to 39% of the school day. Each school will have to figure out their minutes. And no, they're not. That's in the new, these are the changes to the new state policy. If you guys want that PowerPoint they gave us, we can send that around. There's another definition, there's another issue. It's called JC's Law. It's a support plan for pregnant and parenting students to stay in school and earn a diploma. Basically what it says is that the mother gets 8 weeks of homebound or other virtual education, and the father gets 2 weeks. We didn't have the 2 weeks for the father, so that is a change there. Now let's talk about the paper that got sent around to you, the attendance codes. On the left-hand side, you'll notice that there's a new code. It'll start with P or an A. There is a description of that code. There is an interpretation of it. And then there's a walkthrough on the right-hand side of what the old codes were. You can look down through that. One thing I want to point out is there has been elimination of certain codes. The elimination of the calamity code, C1, C2, which typically was for flooding, anybody that had their house burned down, that type of a code. We also have the elimination of the leave of educational value or academic circumstances. That was used for, typically most people use it for family vacations or college visits. That's been eliminated. And that was eliminated by the legislature. All of these have been set by the legislature. And there was also an elimination of the approved personal circumstances, the P5, P6 code, which was fairly new. And that had principal's discretion if there was a child that had to leave school for a serious reason, possibly removal for foster care or something along those lines, that have been coded as that, but that has been removed. Another change to the legislature and the state policy has been a system of support. Each county is supposed to put in place a system of support in a tier program, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 interventions. The universal prevention in the schools is basically just posters, flyers, general information that goes out to everyone. We've done that this year. We typically do that every year, but we've really done it this year. There's new posters up, there's new flyers that went home, new information. The tier 2 are the targeted interventions. That gets a little bit more in depth. We're talking SAT teams, we're talking individual-based interventions, reviewing interventions to determine the effectiveness, and we're also all cases of unexcused absences arising in the school that require services of the attendance director. Then we moved into a targeted intervention, which that is when you want to use outside services or your intensive intervention, intensive intervention, you want to use outside services, such as the court system, such as any counseling that you may utilize, child protective services, the HCS, which is the Department of, used to be the Department of Human Services, now it's the Department of of Human Services, DOHS. Responsibilities, the system of support falls on each school. Each school designs their own system of support. Each school has designed their own system of support and submitted that to me for my approval. I've approved all of them with some ideas through principals meetings and such. So that's in progress currently. In addition to that, attendance director responsibilities have changed. The one, obviously, we're talking about system support. I'm responsible to make sure the county has a system of support in the school, and they do. In addition to that, I had a responsibility reduced, and that was the monthly report I send to the superintendent on what the attendance percentage was in the schools. That's no longer required by law. The county inventor hasn't changed. And I think really the big change is the system of support, really. So let's talk about system of support a little bit more. In that system of support, we have to make meaningful contact. And 3 unexcused absences and 5 unexcused absences. I know there was an article in a newspaper or a social media site of some type that said 1. That's not true. State law requires it at 3 and at 5. And at 10, attendance director can file on the parents in magistrate court or on the children in circuit court. Either one. Mr. Hope.
Okay, when you file in court, what's usually the result?
Well, we've done something new in magistrate court that's working out real well. We're not doing warrants anymore. We've got some magistrates that are willing to work with us, and we're doing subpoenas for a court hearing. It's a summons, and they come to the court hearing and we make a decision. It's served by a sheriff's deputy, which is the serving officer for the sheriff's department, and they serve that, and they are expected to be in court. We'll reset the hearing a couple of times if they don't show up, but after that, we'll do a few days. So we've had a lot more success with that. We're getting more people in court, getting it resolved quicker.
What did you say, Mr. Kirby, after the second time?
After the second time, sometimes they'll do a KPS.
Okay.
So, which is essentially a warrant for someone's arrest for not carrying or following the court's order. And we're being somewhat successful with the 3-day and 5-day calls right now. They are making those. There's quite a few being made. I'm getting the paperwork from them. They have to fill out a log to let me know that they do that and what transpired on that phone call. Before I move forward in the court, I have to have the 3-day paperwork and a 5-day paperwork. Once I have that they've physically made meaningful contact, whether it's by phone, in person, at a school visit, at a home visit, whatever that may be. If it's on social media, that's fine as long as there's an exchange. It can be text messaging. Any of that's acceptable. So we're doing that across the county. We're making home visits as well. Home visits haven't been real successful. A lot of homes are abandoned. So we really don't know where they're at, and that's when we employ Department of Human Services to track down if there's any financial services that are being offered to that family. So we may get a forwarding address, or they may know that that child's in foster care somewhere in another state. We track that down that way. It's a lot of work. Folks who help me do this, Ashley McGee at United High School and Sarah Starkey here, they both work with the elementaries. I do all the middle schools and high schools except United. Since Ashley sits at United, she does that. And I do one elementary, just to keep my hand in elementary. That's all I have. You guys have questions?
Are these codes,
Yes.
I mean, they're a little bit difficult to understand.
Uh-huh.
D, non, credit.
You're correct. Yeah, you're correct. They're difficult to understand.
I mean, it's like they threw the letters out, and whatever stuck is what that code became.
That's correct.
Okay. I just wanted to
You have to see the attendance reports, how much more space it takes up.
Yeah, offering you.
In the education of the court system, we have to educate all of them on what those mean, all the attorneys, all the DHHR workers, all the probation officers. We've got a huge learning curve here.
Is the state offering any kind of support or help and guidance or whenever you need any?
I can tell you that we have a meeting in Charleston at the end of this month to talk about that.
2 days.
No, it's 1 day.
Oh, one day.
They're offering 2 days, but some people can't attend on one day, so they can do the other.
Okay. Thought you were going both days.
And that's about all I can say about that.
Well, you go the first day, and if you don't learn it all, you can stay the second day.
Possibly,
Yes.
possibly. I'm going the second day.
Explain codes. Explain codes. Anybody have any other questions? No? Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. You guys have a good evening.
Thank you.
You're gonna stay for the rest of the meeting, aren't you?
I've got a meeting I've got to go to. I'll see you later.
Good answer, good answer.
All right.
It's called supper.
Next, we have delegations. Are there any delegations? No delegations. We'll move this down to superintendent's updates.
Sure. We have a few things. We've had a busy couple weeks to get started. We've had some different things happening with staff and with students. We're working through it, and we've got some great administrators and folks helping with all of that. We did try for the first time. We're doing a monthly staff newsletter. Not sure if you received it. We're trying to get it out to all the staff. David and I talked about this over the summer, and he put together the first one, and each of the departments can send him information. We just thought at least once a month, if we could get out anything that may be a department, you think you're going to send it out and you don't, or you wait till principal's meeting and it might be a month later. So we thought if we could just shoot those things out, we thought the staff might need to know at that time. So we did the first one, gotten some great comments on that. So we'll continue that, minus my picture on the front, I told him, which was fine.
And this goes to all the employees?
All employees, all staff, and that's really what it is, it's a staff newsletter.
I was gonna say, if you don't want your picture, could you not target somebody or a group? you
We're
know?
doing a staff shout out, we're going to start doing staff shout outs on those newsletters, so we're asking anybody can send us a message saying, hey, this person did this, and we'd like to recognize them, so we'll do a quick
Okay.
shout out to them so we can recognize more people more often, because we've got a lot of people doing a lot of great things.
Well, that's what I say, I mean, that's like Danny Dennison, I mean, there's one that I think we really need to do it soon, target him, I mean, the next one's coming out,
Then we can
sunset, so.
do some kind of retirement recognition for a group of people at specific times throughout the year, so we can, instead of having one meeting for one person, we can have a meeting for 5 or 6 people who choose to retire.
I think that came up maybe at one of our previous meetings, and Caitlin and I spoke about that. Generally, we would do one in June, and those quit after COVID. So we're going to do a semester, we'll do one in December, and then we'll do one in June. Because those numbers are larger than they used to be. We used to have a handful retiring, and now we have quite a few more. So we'll recognize those employees, try to do that twice a year. So the first one will be December of this year, if that's okay. And then the other thing I received was a really nice letter, and it was addressed to the board and to myself from James Griffin from the West Virginia Black Heritage Festival, thanking us for our donation and telling us that the festival will be on September 6th through the 8th, and it was an invitation for us to attend. We would like to, but I thought that was nice. I received that today as well. Also for curriculum and technology, talked with Mr. Poole. Our iPads this time, when we ordered new iPads for our high schools, this time we ordered them with everything on them, cases, everything prepared. So it's literally a handoff, take one back. So, but those are coming in. We're hoping mid-September they kind of keep pushing that, so we're hoping when it's mid-September. So they were reissued their iPads that they had last year to get the school year started. So that's happened, and hopefully those iPads are working well until we get the new ones. Also, we've tried something new with, following up with Mr. Kirby. We're doing a message to elementary students with, for secondary, we've always had in place, if a child misses, they get a message, phone message. We're doing one with elementary, and it is, sorry, I hope your child was okay today, we missed seeing him at school or her at school, and we're trying that out, and we've gotten some pretty good comments about that as well. So that started really when school started. We've not done that notification, so now every student in the county will receive some type of notification for attendance. And as Mr. Kirby said, we put up signs, and then the State Department gave us a brochure that he recreated to be Harrison County, and so instead of putting that online, we were going to have, they recommended having like 25 at the school, handing them out for SAT meetings and stuff. We actually made 10,000 and sent them home to everybody. So that was done through the office, so appreciate the folks here that worked to get those out to all the schools, and then plus they have extra ones. So we can give more out, just to make it what's on your mind, right, to be in school and have good attendance. We're looking at October, we're working on our testing data that we've received, and the curriculum department, elementary and secondary, we're working on getting that data collected with our plan and information, so we'll present that. We're hoping the first October meeting for elementary, and I'd like for you to hear from the specialists and what they've done to map out what we see for this year, and working with our testing and what the next goals are. So saw some great gains in elementary. We've got to work on some secondary things, but we did see some gains there as well. Excited to share with you that information. Personnel, we're working on position inventory, Ms. Leesburg, it's that time of year, to get everybody where they're supposed to be. And we still are posting and moving people and still working with vacancies. We're definitely not the only county dealing with that. It's always great when you talk to another superintendent, because they usually make you feel a little bit better. We have, so many vacancies, and when I've got one county I spoke to, 110 vacancies to start the school year. So we felt better. We're better than last year, and so I've heard from a couple other superintendents. And so you hate to take a little bit, but it does make you feel a little better when we're not as bad off as you think. But working hard to do that.
How many positions is it?
We look 42
Right now, in the posting, it's supposed to be 40.
Yeah. So, and we're trying. We're still. I mean, if the principals can get the positions filled and want to allow the person to move, we're letting them do that. But at this point, they'll be staying until at least the semester, because we've just had crazy movement. We're still trying to hire. I know we need additional aides. So because we've hired so many, so we'll be hiring again. That is a constant. It's just constantly. So appreciate Tammy for working on that. And then once the certified list gets in, we'll start working on the master list and start looking at all of the employees in our schools that are consolidating or merging. And that's a huge process.
So is that 40 positions professional?
Professional.
Professional. Yes. So that will be the next big items coming. For facilities, I'm sure Mr. Lopez will have an update. We did visit the schools Monday, made the tour around to look at the secure entrances, and while we were there, we walked Robert C. Byrd, because we are looking at, we absolutely want to make those schools wonderful for the students moving in, and we're looking at all of the CTE programs at Liberty and what's needed, and we walked those. We already knew that, but we really wanted to focus in now on what we want to do. I will be going to the SBA the application is due on the 13th, so we're working to get that done, waiting for the architect to give me some numbers. But we're wanting to build a shop at Robert C. Byrd. It is going to be a 4,000 square foot facility with 2 classrooms, not including the 4,000 square foot. It'll have 2 restroom facilities, 2 pool rooms, and the 2 classrooms. We're going to do aviation technology in one side, and we're going to bring over our ag mechanics from Liberty, and they'll use a shared space. The shop will be a shared space, so we can have both those programs running at that shop. They've got a beautiful place to put it. We walked it with Danny. We had the fire marshal there and architects, engineers, so that it's just exciting to see that. So I'm asking for funding for that. Also asking for a cafeteria expansion. So we walked that. I've got a sample drawing, and it's going to add about 500 seats to that cafeteria. It's a pretty easy, didn't you think, Mr. Lopez, pretty easy to go out on that cafeteria. We also settled on the secure entrance, which those are already funded, so we kind of made that decision there Monday. Got our plan in place to get Liberty where it needs to be coming up. And then also Mountaineer Middle, we've identified the spaces for the restrooms there. The one thing I did discover on Friday, I had a late meeting with the architects working on this needs application. They will only fund the current needs that we have. So I cannot predict like any other buildings going into Mountaineer. I can do what we need from the relocation of Northview over. So that's 5 classrooms with restrooms. So to go to the SBA for funding for that, not saying that we can't do it possibly locally later. So anyway, I didn't realize that, but it's considered a current
How many restrooms do you
need.
think you're gonna need?
Well,
If you have 5,
there's 4, well, we have a need in that area for a developmental delay pre-K. So we're asking for that additional to make it 5 rooms. So 2 pre-Ks, 2 kindergarten, and a pre-K developmental delay. And they have a beautiful wing location for that. We walked that. The access will be great. We identified 2 areas for playgrounds, which we've already budgeted money for locally. So I'm putting that all in my grant to say, look, we're doing all of this with local match funds. We're hoping that you'll help us with this. It's like the last phase of getting this consolidation done. We need to make these buildings great for our kids. I mean, that is absolutely the goal. So that will be in Charleston on the 13th, that application. And the awards will usually be December.
Speaking of great, how's the playground at Victory?
Well,
Is it up and
Mr.
running?
Lopez can give an update, you know,
Really
anything?
hasn't started
They got a little something going on.
I know it's all flat.
yet. Well, no,
I have been-
the foundation's been kind of laid out for them. They've delivered all the equipment, and they may have started kind of doing some organization today. So hopefully, we were planning on maybe a couple weeks ago, but hopefully this week they will delve into it.
Who's
I
they?
can get it done.
The playground company that gave us the
So we're
presentation.
basically waiting on them.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, it's all.
Have been for several years.
Yes.
It's been there. It isn't our maintenance department that's had a problem yet. But there is a little action going on. I noticed on that one when you first turn in right there, if you're looking at the building on the right-hand side, because I came by this evening, there was something more going on there than was last week.
Danny said they were going to mobilize this week, so. Just a brief overview. I know last week was one of the hottest weeks of the year, and we had some HVAC issues, and namely Mountaineer and Liberty. The big problem there was we had a phase of power from HREA go out on, I believe it was Tuesday night. And anytime that happens, it creates a situation where the equipment still tries to run and start, but it can't because it doesn't have enough juice. So we had we had a motor burnout that there's 2 motors in a chiller at Mountaineer, and they alternate back and forth to run so they don't overheat. One of them burned up. Now we're working with one. We have to get the other one rebuilt. We talked to Castos where we pulled that motor. Took about 7 people to pull it out. It's rather large and heavy. We're working with Casto. They do a lot of our controls. So we're going to see what we can do to try to offset every time the power goes down there. It's a major issue. And this has been like this for years, ever since Mountaineer's been here. And what happens is a lot of those individual units, they try to run and the resistors, the little resistors in them, and it burns them up. I was on the roof Friday while they were replacing some of those. And you take them apart, they're just charred. And and it happens frequently. And we have to do better than that. So we're working with Casco to see if we can't come up with a solution to that. Liberty seemed to be fine, but I will tell you that yesterday I have received a call. John Rogers checked on his building, and the building was warm again. After Friday, it was going well. So it was warm again, and I believe they had a little outage just for a brief moment, and it kicked that motor offline. So luckily, we were able to get hold of one of our HVAC guys, and they went in, and then we went in early today. And I think everybody was cool except for John Rogers. It's awesome. So, and then some of the other areas in the county were more isolated. It was, a unit here, a unit there. And I know it's a big inconvenience, but with the 4 guys that we had one working Friday, one HVAC guy. So with the 4 guys we had, they're working hard. It's just hard to get around to all those buildings. So we're looking again at trying to maybe get some support and maybe get some help through some contractors if we get in a situation where we need it. South Harrison Middle School, the part to ensure shutdown came in today. Hopefully they got it installed. The next step is for the fire marshal approval. We had planned on it being up and running, but we had to get that part. So it came today, I believe it came to the county office. We directed them to go to South Harrison Middle School. As far as the building project, Nutterport Primary, they're doing a great job with the foundation. They're well ahead of schedule. So we've been meeting, this will be our second progress meeting. Simpson still is at a standstill. We're working with the landowner and the attorney, trying to come up with an appraisal value of that road. And I sent a message out to the attorney last week. I texted her today. She was getting with her client, so it's somewhat at a snail's pace. We're hoping to speed that along. We're more than willing to work with the landowner and try to come up with a reasonable offer so that we can get a road access there. It's been a little more difficult. I had some reservations as we went into the project, knowing how important that road was. So we're working, and I think that maybe we can make some progress, or we'll have to go to the next step, and we'll keep you apprised of what that will be. And yes, we do have Danny Dennison that we're going to be interviewing fairly soon. And I know there's going to be some testing for that classification, and hopefully by the next meeting, we'll be able to bring somebody on board. I think that's it. Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. Do you
That's
have anything
all
else?
I have. No, thank you.
All right. This brings us down to consent items. Is there a motion to accept consent items as presented?
Approve consent items as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion on consent items? No discussion, all those in favor? Say
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. New business, out-of-state travel study request. Is there a motion to accept the out-of-state travel study request?
I make a motion, we accept the out-of-state travel request.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I was just glad to see the way that it was being financed, airfares and all that.
Yeah, one of the, this was the FFA.
The softwares?
Yeah, all the FFA stuff. Has their funding changed on how they're supposed to pay for their trips and how they're supposed to pay for their, different? No, okay.
As far as I'm aware, they've done something.
Has there been any type of, same page as next here. Has there been any type of change in where they get their funding? Like, does the school have to pay for everything for certain trips, or does the county office kick in for some of that? How is that structured?
As far as I know, they've never made a request.
In the past, how's that been? Do you know?
Have they requested payment? So that would come through your office, not really.
All of the things that they've done to this point, they have indicated that they were using school funds, their FFA or whatever organization it is, through CTE, but we do have some money to pay for substitutes for some of those things, and some of the trips that would be, no longer 50, all of it.
No, I was just wondering what is the threshold, right? So what is the process of what says that we can do, you know, what trips are we gonna pick up from the county office? We'll have CP budgets, and what trips are they gonna pick up from the school side?
Just, well, and that's what we've done, we just really kind of looked at those things that were like state, convention, those types of things, and try to pick up those and help out there with paying for the substitutes. And then basic care for a transportation, I think it's out there, with a free hospital, so it's already they have their fans. So we were trying to pick up some of those things, we pay for some out-of-state, trips or something.
I've got it.
There hasn't been any change in how you're doing things. They're just putting in a request and saying we're paying for it out of our money. And some of the schools have quite a lot of money that they've raised, like tens of thousands of dollars that they've raised. So they can well afford to do that.
I just don't want to cut any type of support if we've been giving support in the past.
There is
I
a lot
wanna
of
make sure.
support.
So in order to get the support from the county office, they need to submit a request. And then those requests, do they come to us as a board to approve, or on a,
They would come to me.
okay, can I request that when a request is made, if it's a reasonable funding offer, that we have a chance to look at it as well, to determine whether or not that's something we might be able to?
Those are the
Do or not.
professional development requests like you get. Julie gets anything elementary, she gets everything secondary.
And sometimes, the only problem with that is that sometimes, and this is Nancy, sometimes they'll wait till the last minute to turn something in, and it would not be in time.
And I don't want us to start doing $2,000 requests, $3,000, you know, if there's a bigger request, you can say a threshold of $10,000 or something along those lines. You know, we can bring that in front of the board for discussion.
And how do you determine who substitutes? How do you determine, because I know not everybody will go, so they, like state officers sometimes go to a convention, but the teacher has to go with them or the instructor goes with them. How do you determine, do they get a sub? Who pays for the sub?
Sometimes they'll say that they're paying for that stuff with school money, from in-house funds that they've already raised.
But do we normally pay for
We
that?
have money.
I mean, I just remember there used to be sub codes.
Yes,
So every
yes.
time we would go, I mean, our teachers would go for something, there would be a subcode in a subcode file that
Yes.
Mark would just say, go get a subcode.
And
And they'd go to the file cabinet, get a subcode and say, I'm going to the Key Club convention. I need a sub.
Subcodes kind of changed, and now they are more specific than what we used to have when we had the whole list of things and just a whole bunch of them every year.
Mhm.
So what they do is they will send me a request if it's going to be CTE funding. I think there were 67 days used last year by teachers that were funded through CTE last year for subs. And then anything above that, they did their on their own. And there is a subcode if they're paying in-house, there's a subcode that's through CTE. Sometimes there's no sub required if you're taking all of the students in your class. So there's a subcode for that. So we just provided that subcode, and they put that in the principal notify me, say, hey, I've got this teacher that is going to go on this. I give them the subcode, they fill out the professional development request for things, and, or the student travel request for them together.
And honestly, for like elementary, we do for middle and high too, but if they wanna go somewhere, we're gonna find the money. The subcodes are tied to an account, like most things I do, like science and reading, third grade success act, I'm gonna find money for that. If I can't find money for that, I'm in charge of the professional staff development council. So I'm gonna lead those teachers my way, to where I have a council of people who are gonna approve anything at all for teachers as professional development. They have this year's middle school, but then they also leave money there for anybody else who needs something. So we find the money, it's just what subcode we're gonna tie, what funding source that subcode is gonna tie to. Yes.
I just don't want anybody to, be left out or not be able to go somewhere and do something in order to be able, That's all I have. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. West Virginia Italian Heritage Festival request. Is there a motion to approve the funding request of $5,000 to the West Virginia Italian Heritage Festival?
I need to recuse myself.
With, noted by Ms. Smith, Ms. Smith with the recusal of the motion.
I move that we approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I just think that if, a lot of it's going to be on the levy, but I think in the future, they need to make the request, these organizations, if they're going to make a request, they need to make it before the event occurs rather than after the event occurs. In other words, I just think that it's just better that they come well before that.
Well,
They know from year to year when their event's going to be held.
But they also have, they don't just have the main festival that Labor Day weekend too, they have things throughout the year.
We do other funding fundraisers throughout the year. I just want to make sure that we keep it strictly with educational components. That's my focus. So I want to make sure that what we give this money to is going to be used for educational priorities from the festival.
I think the letter states that.
Yes, yeah. And I do think that based on the presentation that they had last week, that they're very interested in partnering with us to do other things.
Well, and the high school creative writing teachers would really like taking their kids to the author's forum. It is very good, because it's from children's to adult books, and it's really good. And the authors talk about their journeys too, and sometimes even practical stuff, like how to get an agent, how to publish it.
That was online also.
Mm-hmm.
Do they send back a report as to how they used our monies?
That's a good idea.
I think, whatever they use it on, how much they use on the
Similar like
offers,
when you get a grant,
and things
Sacred
like
Hearts, we have to respond back.
and
Yeah. Similar.
that way, nobody can ever say, well, you just gave them the money, and you don't know, what did they do with it?
Right.
And they don't have an answer, but if they have to send back, we took your money and we did this with it, and then, whether it be with the offers or art work or whatever, but then we have a record of how our money was used.
I like that idea.
In the future, then, that'd be a
When we-
stipulation.
Give them the check and you'll approve it, we can put that form in there and then they can just send it right back to us. I think that's
Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right. Next item is use technical support MOUs. Is there a motion to approve to continue providing technical support to the following counties for the agreed upon fees? Barber, Gilmer, Marion, Monongalia, Randolph, Taylor, Upshur. They have submitted their signed agreements. Content.
This had,
This is the old Weavis support that RISA used to provide, and that was one of the things that Harrison County took on, is that we would be the main point for those 7 counties. Each county kind of took on different RISA responsibilities, so that's where that's coming from. That's the 7 counties, and we've just done reviews with those counties. That is to pay the salary of the Weavis person. It's not, we're not making money off of this. It's really, we're just the conduit to pay the
it's
person,
when they break even.
pretty much,
We're one of the counties that gets the services as well.
yes.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. WVU School of Medicine, Department of Ophthalmology and Visual Sciences, MOU. Is there a motion to approve memorandum of understanding with West Virginia University School of Medicine? Estimated cost of $50,000 as recommended.
Where does the 50,000 come from? Is it,
Is there, we'll put the motion.
Oh,
Yeah, that's right.
I'm sorry, got the cart with the horse.
Is there a motion to approve?
I move to approve it.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Just, where does the 50,000 come from?
It's part of the special education budget.
Okay.
We've had them, we've used them before,
Okay.
whenever it's going.
It's the OEM specialists that work with kids. They'll take them out and walk with them, teach them caning, all, that's what that is.
Okay.
Yeah, they take them all over the county and do activities with them, so they can be mobile in their environment. That's the purpose.
All right, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Brings us down to old business, superintendent goals. Is there a motion to approve superintendent goals as presented for the 2024-2025 school term?
Make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion on the goals?
Yeah, I looked over the goals, and when we had worked on them back, we supposedly it was going to be narrowed down to about four goals. But with reading these, I mean, there was it just seemed like we didn't do anything to it. We just added more on to what was expected. And I just think, you know, we maybe look like we was almost trying to reinvent the wheel. I think that it's pretty wide and broad things that we're asking, and I think they could be narrowed down smaller to where, you know, like I say, they're attainable. I'm not saying what's there is not attainable, but it's just so much work that we'll have to go into it by the superintendent with everything else that's going to go on in this coming year. I mean, myself, I think the largest thing going on will be the consolidation plan and getting everything ready. And the work goes into that, and then to go and ask for all this other things. I don't know.
We didn't add anything. Mrs. Smith and I worked on them. We streamlined them. There were some things that were duplicates that we took out, that we added absolutely nothing.
Well, I mean,
And when we had discussed it and, everyone was in agreement that those goals were good.
well, it was good, but, you know, they supposedly was going to narrow it down, and there were only going to be like 4 goals.
There are 4.
There's
There
4,
are
but there
4.
are some that were consolidated, some of the ones that were duplicates.
I don't see where the consolidation really took part. We're asking so much, you know,
Well, we started off with 9 goals. We've got it down to 4.
Well, in me reading it, I just feel like we're still at 9 now. I just think that, you know,
Yeah, but they're all things that need to be done this year.
well, yeah, but, you know, they all need to be done, but I think they could be done myself in a little bit, shorter category, and, you know,
We only have 4 categories.
The academic goal didn't change, the academic goal from this year. is the
academic
same.
goals, I can see that, just, I just think some of these things that are on there were just,
But they're not, I mean, we all know Mrs. Butler, how hard she works, but she won't be doing these all by herself either. Some of them are just getting people together, and we're here to help. Yeah.
Hardest ones, I think, that are gonna be the strategic plan and the school climate. I think those are gonna be the school climate surveys, I think those are gonna be the hardest. But as we've discussed in the past, with the school climate survey, there's an opportunity for us to sub that out. We
Right,
could potentially-
somebody else will do,
Somebody else can do the climate
collect
survey.
the data and analyze it and
Take
present
that
it.
off their shoulders.
okay, so
So
really,
that's
they're
not even one she's doing.
it's not really all her goals, it's her goals plus her staff or whoever's having to help take the weight off.
Well, no, I mean, their goals that the board sets for the superintendent, and then the superintendent
It
determines
doesn't
how
matter
to
how
get it.
she, doesn't matter how she gets them done.
Well, I mean, anything illegal, immoral, or
Well, I know.
But there's a reason.
With that reason, the best I can.
Yeah.
It's just, like I say, just an awful lot to be able to have to get all that done, work on, you know, the year, and then at the same time, get all the consolidation, get all the personnel thing going, get all
Well,
the.
it's kind of like the consolidation goal, is like part 3 of a goal that's been in place for, this is the 3rd year. So it's kind of like the tail end as we're moving forward, so most of the consolidation goals already gone. But we're just working on the tail end of it now.
Well,
And we had to put it in there.
Yeah, because
I
it's not
mean-
completed.
well, I know it may be at the tail end, but there's a lot that's gonna be on the tail end. You know,
Well,
the biggest part of it is gonna be on the tail end.
no, you're right. But here's the example. Here's an example of demographics, right, that's in the school consolidation goal. That's also going to be in the strategic planning goal, right? So there are some line items that are still the same, right? So I think we've already got, for example, compile, assemble, and present comprehensive consolidation outline. We've already got that. She's already got that set up ready to go. We just need to kind of find out exactly when we're going to set everything in motion. So that, you know, there are some things that still need to be addressed. But I do think that some of them overlap. So I don't think they should be as daunting as
Well,
they appear.
like I said, it looks like a lot of work on top of what superintendent's already done.
We all sat in there, all of us sat in there, and even narrowed these down, and then entrusted these 2 people. Because 5 of us could have worked, I guess, on that, but we entrusted these 2 people to.
Well, just write them up, basically. Yeah. Just
Organize.
Organize the notes and thoughts, yes.
We all sat there and narrowed them down. And
I don't see where we narrowed it.
well, you got written there.
I was sitting there, yeah, you're right. And like I said, I see the same things on this as was on that gigantic list that we went in there with. I just think that, you know, in the past, and some of them weren't here in the past, used in the past, when we did Dr. Mansions, you know, there was
Man,
2 or
times are
3
changing.
goals that he had to obtain, and all. And here. like
Well, the
I said,
academic goal is the academic goal. That's our main goal anyway, and it's
Which is
in
also
there,
required by
so-
state.
which is required by state. So the academic goal is our main purpose, and it always has been, and it always will be a goal that we want to strive to improve. So that's constantly ongoing to begin with.
Yeah, and goal, like, for example, goal 5, right, promoting positive and supportive view of Harrison County schools. That's
School climate.
School climate. Yeah, right, that's the school climate, so with that consolidated and removed. Implement next phases, well, we scratched out social media, emotional behavioral support. That can be considered part of the things that she's working on right now, right, that's currently ongoing. So, yeah, I do think that some of them have been consolidated fairly well. That's just my opinion.
It is a 5-year strategic plan, financial plan and goals, construction plans for cost, it all sort of hinges around the money that's are available at our disposal.
Well,
So-
it's not
So you can put
dependent,
in all this, you can put in the pipe dream, all that you want or what you expect, but if the money's not there, then the strategic plan is not worth the paper it was written.
Well, we are required by the state to have a strategic plan, 5-year strategic plan.
So,
That's it.
so it's a goal that may be unattainable.
but it's
No,
a living,
it's
it's
a
also a
plan.
living document.
It's a plan that we say 5 years down the road, this is the plan for the Board of Education. And that's required by the state, you have to do that. So that's something that has to be in there. I liked the financial portion of it because that gives us and future boards an idea of what they can expect to have if none of us are here in 5 years. It gives them something to go off of from previous boards. And then the demographics part, that to me, that makes common sense because if we're going to look at building different schools in the future, we need to know where the population centers are going to be in the county moving forward. Which again, that's something that can probably, I mean, I know WVU does that stuff. We've talked about that before. WVU, I think, do that for us if we contact them.
Yeah, there are
We
companies
did,
in
we
the
did this
state
past time trying to get that information, they don't do that.
All these thoughts.
Yeah, they quit pulling that, but, yeah, we did check on that to get it for the previous function, but.
But we-
Again, this is just a plan,
Right,
because
right.
just like our 10-year strategic plan,
Yes,
okay,
it's a comprehensive educational facility.
it's a working document as we go, so pretty much we're kind of like just asking to update the strategic plan to see where we are now and then moving forward.
Well, it's like your family budget, you budget and then the fringe goes out.
Yeah,
We have a strategic plan, we do a
Yes.
5-year county strategic plan, it doesn't necessarily, it usually has academic goals, it doesn't usually address facilities and
No,
finance, but,
I think we're to the point now where, since we are doing the consolidation and the mergers and everything, to see what it is that we have left, what are we not using, what can we use, what can we do with it? Do we just need to get rid of it? Do we use it, can we use it for something else? You know, what's the plan from here? So after the consolidation goal is done, okay, where do we go from there? What do we do next?
yeah, there's a email that was sent to all board members with important deadlines and dates for the 2024,
Yes, I got it.
2025 school year. You have to print it out?
Yeah.
There's a section, and I can't remember which one it is, but it talks about having a strategic plan in place and setting a strategic plan in place and submitting it. I don't remember what the date is, and I right off the top of my head. But there is a requirement for us to have a strategic plan, 5-year strategic plan. There's also, which we have to discuss earlier, or later, at some point, there's also a requirement for the LSICs. So we're gonna have to start, looking at the LSIC committees. But we can talk about that in another meeting.
we sent the changes out to the administrators so they know what changed in code. Same way strategic plan, we work on that, all the departments work on the county strategic plan, so.
It would be a good idea possibly to get a hold of Howard Super. I know what you will say.
Next week.
I know, but I mean, to come and talk about some of these changes, we've done that in the past, right? Tell us about what these new laws are going to mean to us. I think I always find that important.
Yeah, Mrs. Smith and I went earlier in the year.
When we had him.
We have him the day after I have chemo.
He may be in Charleston, I don't know, is he on that?
He's on the agenda, yeah. He'll be
He
there.
may do that same,
He might.
like, we'll see, and if not, we'll
So,
do a second boost.
yeah, I I understand where you're coming from, Doug, and I think a lot of these, they were whittled down and combined to be a part of the overall goals, and there are still some that are similar, so some of them will cross over.
And some of them are just action steps.
Yeah.
And what we like to see done to complete the goal. So they're not really goals, they're like
Like
requested action
the
steps.
news application could be part of the consolidation wrap up,
Mhm.
what I'm working on right now.
Right.
To get RCB correct and ready.
Well, my one question then to you is there anything within their five goals that you feel, or four goals, that you feel that you might not be able to attain?
I will do the best I can with those. And there, some of the deadlines may not, it depends. I mean, there are some deadlines that are quick. I will attempt to reach those deadlines, but, we'll see. But there's nothing, I don't believe that with my team that we cannot accomplish and get them done. It just,
And I think the deadlines can be flexible. I mean, we don't have to hold hard
Right.
and fast to deadlines. You know, these are geared for the whole year. Some of them would be beneficial to have
some
earlier
of
rather
them
than
for the
later.
end of the year.
Sure,
Correct.
but some of them can be, you know, I would say pushed off, but some of them can be.
We've already started some work looking at some companies to do the survey. It may require bidding that out because the cost. And when they do focus groups, we've got one tomorrow, I believe, it's a Teams meeting. When they do a focus group, they're going to be going into the schools, talking to folks, and that's gonna take some organization and trying to find the time in that. I'm just more concerned on that end, not up here, because we're more flexible, but for a focus group to go into a school and take a few hours, they're talking like hours of time to interview people and talk to them, that's gonna be disruptive a little bit. I'm a little concerned on that end. I haven't gotten the cost. I've just shared with them, what some of the requests were. We've got a couple meetings scheduled this week with companies, and I believe that we will have to bid that.
Can you check to
I'm
see?
aware of this coming.
Not yet, but you haven't voted.
Can you check to see
Yeah.
if, what the parameters for allowing a group like that into a school setting would be? That, I was just thinking that might be something that.
That was the discussion that we've had with our schools.
Yeah.
Because when they do these focus groups, private company, there's more flexibility. They can go in and really sit down with groups and interview people, and I'm okay with that. It's just finding the time or I'm going to use a PL day, for them to do that. We're just not conducive to that as a business, like a business is. Here, they could do county office fairly easily. And they will be interviewing me and folks and setting those, we'll have to set up those times for them to get out into the schools. I mean, when you talk to these companies, it becomes like, wow, they're really going to get in, which is, I know that's the information that we're wanting, but it's going to be disruptive, I think, to some of our buildings.
What about the cost? I mean,
Well, I don't know yet. They're going to give me,
You're looking.
Mr. Oliveri is working with me on that. And he's going to.
We have insurance companies that come in and talk to teachers and telephone companies that come in and, so.
Not anymore. Don't allow it.
Indians, they don't come in.
Yeah, we don't really allow that. We stopped all that. I will get you
So
calls.
you feel comfortable with all
We're gonna do the best we can. I always do, and I'll do the best I can.
I'm completely confident in your ability. And
Just, I hope that the board is patient, and when we come into a snag or have something that's taking longer, or
what, it won't go as planned? Is that what you're saying?
this couple of weeks, I've said that, when you work in a school and you walk in that morning, anybody that's been an administrator, you never know what the day is gonna be. We've had a few days like that here at the county, that nothing ever gets done that's on your list, so. we do a day at a time. And
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye,
Any opposed?
yes,
Yes or no?
Aye.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
yes.
So that's 5-0?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, so make sure.
I guess I don't know how they would.
That brings us down to personnel matters. I think there was a,
I move pursuant to 69842 West Virginia Code that the board go into executive session to discuss personnel matters which, if discussed in public, might affect adversely the reputation of any person.
is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We'll be in executive session. adjourn from executive session?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? No. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Back in general session. Brings us down to our last item, board member comments.
Don't
We
we have
did-
to approve
Oh,
personnel?
sorry, yes, approve personnel. Is there a motion to approve personnel agenda as presented? Sorry, thank you.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Now we can go to board member comments. Is there a motion? I'm sorry, Mr. Tucker.
Thank you for staying. Appreciate you being here. No problem.
Mr. Hogan.
Nothing.
Dr. Santilli.
Nothing.
Ms. Smith.
I'm good.
That's good. Now, I have nothing. 8:12. Yeah, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.